Hey guys, Carlos Cortez here with another episode of Scriptures in Wall Street. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and like and subscribe on Rumble, Scriptures in Wall Street. We welcome all of our new listeners from all the platforms. We're on Patriot TV, we're on Lindell TV, we are on Stu Peters Network and other networks to come. So the reason why we're getting added is because we shoot the straight truth. We are not bought out. I fund everything here with my own money. So guess what? No one's not going to change my message. You guys know that private equity came in and started throwing millions of dollars at me. And they told me, hey, we want to take over your show. Here's obviously X millions of dollars. And I said, go pound sand, because my integrity is never for sale. Now, I could say this wholeheartedly about our next guest that we have here. A dear friend of mine and the dawn of all peptides. And we're going to be bringing him here shortly. But let me say my disclosure here. Everything on this podcast is meant for information and education purposes only. Because of our special guest, we are not giving medical advice. Also, if you would like any information about what is being spoken today, there will be links. There will be a segue so that you have the opportunity to basically get in contact or purchase any type of items that you are interested in. And more importantly, if you would like a consultation with me or my staff, then all you have to do is go to visit CortezWM.com. You can download our free guide at AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com. And you see that book above my head? If you book an appointment with us, I will be sending that to you. I'll personally sign it. No gimmicks, no questions asked. It's a great read. I wrote it for you so that you can be woken up to a lot of the frustrations that you may have while you're fudding, fear, uncertainty, and doubt due to the red money virus that is out there. So go ahead and book an appointment with us at CortezWM.com. And I'm really looking forward to helping every American I can, every listener of this podcast. But before all of that, I would like to bring in my good friend, Jay Campbell.
What's going on, my brother? Thank you so much for your patience. This has been a long time coming. You have been pushing me to come on your amazing show for a long time, and I've just been busy and, no excuses. It just hasn't made the right timing until now. So I'm really, really excited to be here today. And of course, privileged and humbled to talk to your listeners.
No, I don't think the audience, maybe, I mean, I do because I'm biased, but can you tell us like who you are? I in my eyes, you're like the godfather of peptides. And I don't know if you invented peptides. I don't know. I don't know much about peptides. I do know a little bit to be dangerous, but I want to kind of give you the floor of how'd you get started in this business? Why? I think I know why, and I think our listeners know why. And if you want to get into our first question, basically, our second question was, why did you get into peptides? And what is it that we don't know about Big Pharma that peptides is almost, I don't want to say the word cure, but is helping millions of people that they don't even know about?
Yeah. So all really good questions. Just high level background on me. So really my claim to fame, if there is one on the internet, is I was the guy who wrote the first two, not the first two, but the first mainstream exposure and awareness books on therapeutic testosterone, right? So I wrote in 2014, it was actually published in 2015, but it was written in 2014, the definitive TRT manual, and that blew up on Amazon. A lot of people in our space, whatever we are in, the hustle space, entrepreneur space, believe that Jeff Bezos used that book to go from the pipsqueak, nerdy guy to the dude that was jacked, right? That was shown on all the images of him, like on yachts, I think in 2016, 2017. And so a lot of people were like, dude, your book was like number one on men's health on Amazon for like 6 months in 2015. He probably used that book to get jacked. And my guess is if you put a gun to my head, I would say probably 80% likely true. Right. So then after that book came out, I wrote another book on fasting, which was called The Metabolic Blowtorch Diet, which also blew up and got a lot of mainstream acceptance. It was kind of the first book teaching people how to alternate day fast. So it's kind of like you eat one day and you train, and then the next day you don't eat. And then you just rotate. So you're getting like 3 or 4 days a week of eating and training, lifting, and then 3 or 4 days, depending on your training schedule, of not eating and doing cardio. And so a lot of people got ripped on that. And then after that, I wrote probably at this point my seminal work, although my biggest piece is coming at the end of this year, which we can talk about. It's on GLP peptides, but it was called the Testosterone Optimization Therapy Bible, or the TOT Bible. And
Nice.
that book right now is the #1 selling book of all time on hormones. You're familiar with that. Our mutual friend Josiah is familiar with that. Almost every guy in the bro world knows about that book because it's sold, hundreds of thousands of copies. It's got like 3,000 5-star reviews on Amazon, et cetera.
Right.
And it's still to this day, bro, the #1 book in the clinical community for physicians, both men and women, who prescribe hormones to use as a resource, because it has like 2,600 scientific citations in it. Subsequently from that, I eventually wrote a book on peptides. And truthfully, that book came out on January 31st, 2023, in the middle of the vaccine debacle. And so many people were looking for alternative forms of healing that my book just exploded. And it exploded into mainstream consciousness. It exploded in the medical community. It exploded into the academic community. And so I think from there, as you said, people see me as like the peptide guy, but it really all started with hormones. And as I always tell people, it starts with hormones because most people today make a mistake of jumping into peptides without knowing if their hormones are optimized. And as you and I know, and what we were talking about off air before the show started, 80% of people in society right now have a hormone deficiency and literally do not know, because the medical establishment is full of quacks and full of people who are slaves to pharma. And pharma doesn't want people to have optimized hormones, because then, as you know, the cash cow of medicines and allopathic sick care, illness medicine will die. Because if you optimize a person's hormones, you instantly cure them of about 70 to 75% of all autoimmune disease and disorders or dysregulation. And most people don't know that. But once you get your hormones optimized, your life really changes, because you, as I like to say, you become sovereign, empowered, and free. You are in control. You're not relying on your doctor to tell you that you're sick or that you need this medication or anything, because you don't go to doctors anymore. You're not, sure, if you get shot or in a car accident, maybe you got to go to a surgeon, but you're not going to a normal, everyday, allopathic insurance subrogated doctor, because you're in control of your health.
Yeah, that's amazing. So could you explain what a lot of our listeners don't even know what a peptide is. So when I talk to people like every day, I've lost 80 pounds. My listeners have seen my transformation.
That's awesome.
Just walking, eating protein, and yes, peptides have been a big part of that as well. So I get random people that come up to me like, "Hey, Cortez, how'd you do this, man? Like, wow, you look great." And I'm talking about BioLongevity Labs. I'm just talking about peptides in general.
Sure.
And more importantly, this information is so needed. And what you just described about 80% not knowing, well, I'll tell you what, man, the diabetes in America is just overblown. Like,
Yeah.
I think I read like 80% of diabetics, or I'm sorry, it was 100 million people. 80% of that 100 million people that are pre-diabetic um, are literally like on the verge of having diabetes and don't even know it.
Exactly.
I don't know what that stat is, but I'm paraphrasing. Please don't
No, you're exactly right. And let's break that down, and then we can go deeper into what peptides are. But so the medical community doesn't want people to be cured. They want to manage sickness. They want to manage illness, right? So, that you're right. Hundreds, it would, I don't want to over exaggerate this, but let's say right now there's 100 to 175 million people in the United States right now who are pre-diabetic. And what that means is they have an HbA1c level, which is a measurement of blood glucose in the bloodstream, too high. And when it's too high, you're on the fast path to an early grave, because an early grave comes from diabetes, glaucoma, heart illness, inflammation. I mean, all levels of fat, visceral body fat, and insulin resistance are from diabetes, which again is kind of like the gateway illness to death. And again, when I say death, like there's a million ways to die, but you're going to die an early death. So these people have this problem for a couple of reasons. One, they'd have no clue how to eat nutrition because they don't, in college and high school, they don't teach people what nutrition is. They don't teach people how to live insulin controlled. The average person on the street, and I'm talking about, Ivy League educated people. So actually college educated people don't know the difference between a protein, carbohydrate, and fat. They couldn't tell you the energy equivalent, of 4 calories to 9 calories to 4 calories. They don't know that. On top of that, they also don't know the difference between what a protein, fat, and a carbohydrate is. So you've got wholesale ignorance of nutrition in America. And again, the average person just eats to feel full. They're eating, boxed GMO foodstuffs, so engineered food, which is all shit. And it's crashing their metabolic health and, again, increasing their HbA1c score, which is, again, a measurement of too much blood glucose or sugar in their bloodstream.
Correct.
And it's leading them to an early grave. So if you, instead of going back to peptides, instead of jumping on peptides, if you get your blood work done to understand, if you have a quote unquote hormone deficiency, and obviously if you are a type 1 borderline diabetic, type 2 borderline diabetic, you definitely have a hormone deficiency because that's one of the causational, factors. You want to get your hormones optimized. The problem is like we just said, is that there's not even a lot of doctors that can do that. So you have to be very intelligent and very specific and very intentional with you finding a physician, like a functional medicine doctor, maybe a urologist, maybe an endocrinologist, maybe none of those people, maybe just a doctor who advertises that they know how to optimize your hormones. And from there, now we can start looking at peptides. And so back to your original question about peptides, they're basically organic signaling molecules or chains of amino acids. Again, you can call them fractionated proteins, but they're found naturally occurring in the human body. I think the number one peptide that most people are familiar with or they've heard stories of is the healing peptide, which is BPC 157. BPC stands for body protective compound, and it's actually found in the gastric juice in the gut. So again, naturally occurring, naturally made. We synthesize peptides in a lab, and then we either inject them, we intranasally snort them, we rub them on our skin so they're transdermally absorbed, sprayed into our scalp, and we can use dermal rollers or massage or scalp. And then obviously the last format or delivery system that is somewhat effective, not ultimately or optimally effective, would be oral. And what they're coming with, which is cool for like normies and people that are afraid of injecting themselves, is micron patches of think of like a Velcro patch that will be able to be applied to the arm with no pain, because the needles will be literally what are called 2 or 4 micron needle bases, which you can't feel. I mean, you could slap it on your face and you wouldn't feel it because it's so microscopic. So that technology is in development. And, I actually work with a couple of the companies that are bringing that to market. So my guess is that within 2 years, people who are afraid of injecting peptides, which by the way is 80% of the world, will not have to deal with that anymore. So the barrier to entry of peptides will be a lot less. So almost everyone who's not, afraid of, whatever side effects or fear porn will be able to use peptides without pain. So it's coming, but that's kind of what peptides are. I would say right now, I just made a really big documentary that's hopefully going to be on either Netflix or Amazon next year.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. These are the statistics. Less than 1% of people in America even know what a peptide is. Of that 1% who are aware, less than 0.5% are using them. So when you mathematically figure out how many people in the United States are using peptides, it's probably less than 10, probably less, somewhere between 8 and 10 million people. It just is weird for people like me because, like you said, I'm kind of like considered the godfather of peptides. So like anybody who's using them knows who I am or I'm working with or talks to, but it's still a very, very tiny subsector of society.
Dang, that's nuts, because they literally have been so amazing for my lifestyle.
They're game changers. They're literally game changers.
They really are. And so my audience on Scriptures and Wall Street, Jay, just so you know, there are a type of people, there are people, man. They're
in that 10 million, my bro.
Yeah, they're woke. They understand that we don't wrestle between flesh and blood, but rulers of darkness, like what the word of God
No
says,
doubt.
and
Principles and principalities.
principles and principalities. So why is it, I mean, call it the industrial or the military industrial complex,
Yeah,
call it whatever you want. I know on Wall Street, like you could watch CNBC, Maria Bartiromo. I call it bro investing.
sure.
And if your investment advice comes from the word bro, it starts with the word bro, run. So like, bro, you got to buy Bitcoin, bro, you got to buy silver, bro, this crypto, bro, this, bro, that, bro, you got to talk to my advisor, bro. Like, bro, you really. So, anyways, that logic literally transforms in media.
Yeah.
So I get a call from an agent, from CNBC, from whoever. I pay them $50,000, and they say, "Hey, bro, you want to be like the big guy on TV? Then all you got to do is pay us, and we could say whatever you want."
Right.
And it becomes more of a like advertisement. But the thing is, the backside, the dark side, Americans don't understand is that we have programmed our whole self, our whole society, like, oh man, I seen him on TV. I seen him on TV. He must be legit.
Right.
And
Exactly.
the thing is that you could pay to be on TV, and not really mean anything. Like you could have no background, you can have no experience, and they will still pump you up like as if you're the Godfather in your space, like you're the Don. And so
Yeah.
the bro investor sites like Yahoo and CNN, most of them are all sponsored. So I
Mhm.
haven't even looked at this, and I'm gonna just take a quick second here. This is what's right now. Lilo
Yep.
Novo to lower obesity drug prices and deal with Trump.
Yep.
The market's going down. Look at all these advertisements. Man, I saw Pult Homes, on Yahoo Finance. I saw this ad on Chevy, like Chevy's the man, like they're
Yep.
the best trucks ever. Oh, check this out, VRBO. Um, all this is just paid advertisements. And you literally can, if I click on videos, it even gets even worse.
Yep.
I'll click on videos, and a lot of these videos are all paid for ads in
Of course.
disguise as latest news.
It's pay to play, bro. Pay to
Yep,
play.
pay to play, and our audience knows that. And guess what? You know who else knows that is the medical field, and in your industry as well. So,
Yep.
um, kind of talk about, if you don't mind, like why is this being kept from us,
Yep.
and why does the government or the people that are running the principalities, let's just call it, why
You
are
got
they
you got to
wanting
use the
to
term
control us?
people, as I've said to you, very loosely, because it's not people. I'm happy to go into the whole hyperdimensional aspect of things real quick, and then we'll get into peptides. But at this level of reality in third density, so I can quantify it because I always have my Hawkins scale back here, which is kind of blurred out probably for the people. But this is like the levels of consciousness from Dr. David Hawkins. And when you understand that, like, 80% of humanity vibrates below the line of integrity, which is really the line of courage in consciousness. As you and I were talking off air, most people are in fear of everything, fear of losing their job, fear of peptides, fear of, taking ownership of their health, et cetera. That, everybody wants to outsource things. But once you get over that line of courage, again, it's quantified as the 200 level of consciousness, then you're kind of capable of being an entrepreneur. You're capable of using peptides. You're capable of doing all these things that most people are afraid of. But that understanding of like who controls this level of reality, it's, again, as the Bible said, obviously all of the ancient texts, if you're smart enough to read them or can decipher them or are familiar with them, all talk about, like you said, principles and principalities. These are beings that are hyperdimensional. And what I mean by that is that
Right.
they exist in a realm outside of our awareness, and they are essentially energetic and physical. So they're what in the quantum realm, they're known as biphasic, which means they can become energy and they can become physical. But when they're in this realm, obviously everything is physical. So they do have to inhabit form, but they don't like coming here because obviously it's way too low vibrationally for where they exist at in fourth density. So anyway, these beings, let's just say, some people have quantified them as like demons. Some people have quantified them as reptilians. Some people have quantified them as gray aliens. Some people have quantified them as Nordics, which are like giants. There's a lot of different interpretations and quantifications of what they are. I don't think it really matters. I think what matters is that we understand that they're not positive to us. They're anti-human. They're anti-creation. They're anti-God. They're negative. And in like the law of one or the law of Ra or the law of like, if you understand reality from either as you're serving others or serving self, they're basically purely service to self beings. And so it's in my opinion, and obviously much smarter people than me, that these are the beings that are running this show, right? They run Wall Street, they run pharma, they run the governments, they run everything, right? I mean, a lot of people want to call them the Illuminati or, the governing elite or the cabal, or there's a million different names for them, but none of the humans that are in charge at this level of reality are in control. They're just minions. And many of them have sold their soul. And when I say sold their soul for fame, power, money, there is the possibility, and it's hard to prove this, because obviously people like David Icke and there's others, Laura, Knight Yadchik and others, who say that they also have the ability to remote pilot people. Now, obviously there's been movies made, like I think of the movie with Denzel Washington, that movie, Time Is on My Side. Yes, it is. And it's like a being, it's like hopping as a fly from body to body to body. And he's supposedly like a fallen angel. But there is a likelihood that they are able to remote pilot people that are vibrating down here. Right. So if you're vibrating in these red, orange, root chakra levels, you have no awareness. You're effing clueless. And they can take over you, essentially, like they can puppet you. So it's like if you're just like, barely alive and you're in total pain and victimhood and anger and self-hatred, self-loathing, again, the lowest frequencies that we understand, it's pretty reasonable to assume that they can literally take you over. Right. So obviously we see these politicians, we see people in different levels of government that do shit that you're like, how is that possible? There's no way I didn't vote for that person. What's going on now? Right. So it's like the likelihood that many of these people are under the influence of these hyperdimensional forces, again, however you want to quantify them, is high. It's extremely high. And again, it's been written about in so many ancient texts, so many books, including the Bible. We go way beyond the Bible. We go into the Enuma Elish. We go into the Babylonian and Akkadian, books and texts and works. And it's always been talked about. They've always talked about that there were, again, like you said, principles and principalities who were ruling the dominion of man. And clearly it's obvious now. And I think we have to, this is kind of an interpretation, but I think these forces have waited for us to get back to this level of technological sophistication. Because as we know, in the past with Atlantis and previous cultures that collapsed, they had high levels of tech. Who knows? Probably higher than what we have now. But now that they have screens and they have 5G and 6G and they have Wi-Fi and they have HARP and they have, satellite telemetry and they have global telemetry and they have, space telemetry and they have all this stuff, Space Force, all this stuff. Clearly they can manipulate our reality through technology, right? And you talked about it already. I mean, AI, there's no way to know now what is real and what is holographic. I mean, they have technology to literally make a version of you and me that you and I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. So I think people have to truly understand, to tie this all back to like peptides, like there is a system of government or a system of power in place where they do not want the human sheeple, us, the guinea pigs, whatever we are, the cattle, the goyim. They don't want us to have access to life-saving, interventions or technologies that would keep us from paying, call it toll to the troll, which is money to allopathic medicine, which is money to insurance agencies, which is money to, you name it, like you said, money to banks, money to whatever is the enslavement arm of that moment or that time. Because if we did, we wouldn't be reliant on any of these things. So obviously somebody like me is teaching people how to use these amazing, miraculous agents like peptides, because as you said already, they do fundamentally treat the root cause of illness, disease, and dysregulation. So if you use a peptide, you can actually heal from the root cause or the ground up, versus an allopathic medicine, as you know, is just a Band-Aid. So big pharma doesn't want people to have access to peptides. The only ones that they do give access to are like the GLP peptides, which we can talk about, but those things are massive, multi-trillion dollar, I shouldn't say trillion, they're going to be trillion, but they're right now, they're in the billions, revenue arms. And as you know, most people that use them do it wrong. And they overpay, they oversaturate the receptors, they take too high a dosage, they end up with metabolic failure, thyroid issues, all sorts of stuff, because the doctors that are giving them these drugs are not prescribing it right. I'm actually writing a book right now that will be done by the end of this year on GLP peptides. It's called Metabolic Awakening, and it will actually be the first book in the marketplace, at least I think right now, that will teach people how to use these things effectively for like long-term health and happiness, essentially longevity, versus what most people use them for now, which is like, they lose 50 pounds and then they gain 75 pounds back because they don't know what they're doing. They're not lifting weights. They're not eating enough protein. They're not getting hormonally optimized. Their dosages are too high. I mean, it's a nightmare. Everything you see in the popular mainstream news about, GLPs, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, all these things is negative, because the average person using them is being instructed by the average quack doctor prescribing them, and they have no clue. But I've been using GLPs personally myself, and I've had thousands of people that I've instructed for 5 years, and they've revolutionized their bodies. They've revolutionized their minds. They've revolutionized their mindsets. I'm sure yourself have used GLPs to lose 100 pounds. So They really do work. It's just a matter of teaching people how to do it correctly, again, within the context of health and longevity.
What would be your top 5 peptides if you had to choose one, or choose 5?
Yeah, the 5 biggest needle movers. It's an awesome question. Nobody's ever actually asked me that. So that's kudos and credit to you. So obviously the first one is not a peptide, it's testosterone. So men and women both need therapeutic testosterone 90% of the time. And I think the easiest way to explain this is 65 years ago, nobody needed therapeutic testosterone. Now, I shouldn't say nobody, but you would have to have literally like a biochemical injury or testicular, it's known as testicular failure, which is called class 1 hypogonadism, before you would ever need an intervention like therapeutic testosterone. But as you know now, we are living in a contaminated society. The air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the energy that we imbibe across screens, the contaminated, streets, the cars. You sit in a Tesla that sits in the sun and the hydrofluorocarbons come up and you're breathing those. I mean, we're under what I call a full systemic siege, 24/7, 365. I mean, people don't even realize when they sleep on a mattress with metal coils in it. Some of these $20,000 plush, mattresses, they're being irradiated. The Wi-Fi signal is going through the bed and blasting you. So we're being killed and bombarded at all times. So that's why you need testosterone, because your endocrine system runs on testosterone, men and women. There's no difference from a man or a woman. The only difference between a man and a woman, I always tell people this because they get confused, is the amount of testosterone that you were exposed to in utero. So a man is different than a woman because we were exposed to more testosterone in our mom's uterus. It's as simple as that, versus a woman had less. So when we get older, again, going back to what you recommended or referred to as 60-year-old woman, you probably don't have much testosterone. In fact, I would argue you have nothing, because especially if you live in the West, you're living in a contaminated world and you're being ground up in every capacity. So number one is going to be testosterone. And again, a therapeutic amount. We're not talking about, bro bodybuilding dosages. We're talking somewhere between 100 and 150 milligrams a week for a man. And for a woman, it's somewhere between 15 and 25 milligrams a week. And some women who are postmenopausal can handle more. Women who've had again, these medieval surgeries, which they do every week, on the corner at every freaking clinic. But when they remove their uteruses and ovaries, in these hysterectomies, which are, by the way, completely unneeded, they're being chemically castrated. So when that happens to these poor women, they have to have a higher dose of testosterone because their body can't make it anymore. So, by the way, that's the number one reason for divorce in America. It's not because the man is cheating on the wife. It's because the wife literally cannot have sex anymore because her vagina does not get moist. So she has basically, sandpaper down there. And it's for her to even have sex, it's painful. So all these women are not getting hormones. They're not being given therapeutic testosterone. And they're literally now eunuchs. And so now they can't have sex with their husbands. And it just becomes, the typical situation that you're familiar with, where the man and women are like roommates. Yep. The man has a girlfriend, and the mom is just now grandmom and mom. It's insane. I mean, it's easily fixable, but this is the world we live in. So that's number one, testosterone.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that situation, because I have a lot of sex on my wife.
I mean, dude, believe me, when you're in your 50s and 60s, it's a whole different story. Like, you have to be riding the, hormone optimization train, because a lot of things change biologically. But yeah, it's a sad, sad situation. Number two is, without a doubt, would be either tirzepatide, which is a stage 2 GLP-1 peptide, or my favorite, which is retatrutide. Yes, which is GLP-3. And the reason that is because everyone, regardless of whether you're a burgeoning type 2 diabetic or you're even lean and healthy, you can use retatrutide to wind back the clock. I mean, it literally will change brainwave patterning. It will eliminate food noise. It will improve nutrient partitioning, improve insulin signaling. And all you need is a microdose, as you know. And again, most people do this wrong because the doctor tells them, start at this level of dose, because that's how the doctor makes money. And then they escalate them every week until the point where they blow out the receptors. It doesn't work. And they just literally spent $6,000 and now they feel like shit, and like it doesn't work. And they go to the media and social media and tell people it doesn't work, etc. But when you do it right with a microdose, it's life-changing. And then I would say the three other ones that I would highly recommend are really dependent on the person and where their goals are in life. But obviously, most people have a fat loss goal, right? Most people are obese or insulin resistant or have too much body fat. So I would pick a growth hormone agonist peptide, and it's one of these three. It's either tesamorelin, which is really better for men because it attacks gut fat, or ipamorelin, which is best for women because it doesn't raise cortisol or any other hormonal system. And in fact, it doesn't even affect endogenous human growth hormone or IGF-1 production. And then the other one that would be like the last of the three, and definitely the furthest away, would be CJC 1295, which is also really good for producing growth hormone. So pick one of those. And now the other two would really come down to what you need. Like, if you're a fat person and you're insulin resistant, you're going to probably pick MOTS-C, SS31, or 5-amino, either oral or injectable, because those are your three biggest mitochondrial movers. Those are going to optimize your mitochondria, turn your mitochondria on, make them express better. And then I would say, again, one of those. And so now I've given you kind of four. Then it's probably the small molecule, which is SLU-PP-332, which we at BioLongevity Labs are the first company in the world to offer a higher milligram dose version of that, which is revolutionizing the market for people that are taking it. Because previously, before we started that, all the other companies, and there are many, including us, were underdosing the product because we misinterpreted the original research, which was in, of course, rats and mice. And then eventually there were two studies in humans, one of them at the University of Florida. And in those studies, they were using 50 milligrams per kilo, which nobody was using even that amount. We were using micrograms in our dosages, which, to show you how effective the product is, people were still getting really good results with 1 milligram, 500 micrograms, 2 milligrams a day. And now we make a format that's 100 milligrams per capsule. And the dosage escalation, 10X's to 20X's to, honestly, no doubt, no lie, 50X is the response. And there's no risk. There's no side effects. In all of the studies with this product, it's kidney protective, heart protective, brain protective. It does a lot of amazing things. So I really think that product, again, it's a small molecule. It's called SLU-PP-332. That's the chemical code name, is going to revolutionize over-the-counter supplement taking in the next 3 to 4 years as more and more people find out about it. I've personally been using it myself now for 2 months at between 200 and 600 milligrams a day. and my body and my physique and my muscle weight and leanness right now is the best it's ever been. I'll be 55 in February. I'm completely shredded and I weigh 219 pounds, so I mean, I know that that's having a lot to do with it. Obviously I do all the other things, but that thing is a major bonus. And so I'll throw you 2 bonus molecules that nobody even knows about yet that obviously are coming out with at Bio Longevity for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And by the way, these will be the 2 biggest movers in the longevity space probably in the next 2 years to the market with both of these products. But the products are called Clotho and Follistatin. And I'll just really quickly tell you what they are. So Clotho is actually an endocrine hormone that is produced as a protein and exogenously produced or synthetically produced. And when people take Clotho, it really is, bro, like the holy grail, the fountain of youth molecule, because when you take it, it simulates a younger biological cell age. So every system, hormone, organ, and biosystem in the body is being simulated to a younger age when you take it. So I've been using it and my wife have been using it since the end of August. And it is incredible because it makes sex better. It improves the sensitivity of your tissues. So you have like stronger erections, harder erections. Your wife gets wetter. You definitely notice improved sex because the best way to describe it is like you feel like you're 17 or 18 or 19 again when you're having sex. You have everything is firing. You feel amazing. So, that's what it's doing. It's just basically, it's removing what are called senescent cells from the body, which are like zombie dead cells, and improving the function of all the other systems in your body. So that is going to be a revolutionary product. It's easily $1 billion product. And then the other product is called Follistatin. And in the bro/bodybuilding world, it's been around for 20 years. The differentiation is that product was known as 314, Follistatin 314, 344, and 347. And those were short half-life agents that lasted maybe 1.5 to 2.5 hours in the bloodstream. So you would have to inject it 2 or 3 times a day in the body part that you wanted to get bigger from a skeletal mass standpoint. And the other thing is that, and obviously people that know this who have used it know, dude, it produces debilitating pain. Like it's like instant DOMS, instant delayed onset muscle soreness. And you have, people, if you inject up in the shoulder or the arm, you can't move your arm over your shoulder for 3 or 4 days. So it was always a dead failure. The only people that used it were like hardcore pro bodybuilders that needed to get their shoulders or their arms bigger. So our product has what is known as an albumin binder. And again, it's a patented form. Nobody else has it. Lilly is the patent for this product, but we're like 3 or 4 years ahead of them. You extends the half-life to 19 days. So if you take this product, and by the way, I'll tell you about Clotho, how to do it too. It's 1 shot every 2 weeks, which obviously for people that are afraid of needles, it's no big deal, right? Because it's a tiny little insulin needle. Right. Eventually it'll be in a pen. So it'll be in a tiny little micron pen. And you only have to inject yourself once every 2 weeks. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this. It literally has the ability to create 1 to 1.5 pounds of muscle mass gain per week. So if you take Follistatin over the course of an entire year and you use Clotho simultaneously, you will improve all of your biological functioning and you will literally gain muscle up to your genetic limit. So what does that mean? Because people keep asking me. If you're like me and you're 55 and you're already pretty muscular and you've been training for 30 years and you do everything right, somebody like me might be able to gain like 12 or 15 pounds of muscle. But for me, that'll be insane. I'll be like, because I already have a good physique, it'll probably be like, dude, you look like a goddamn X-Man versus a person like a woman who's never trained, who takes it and uses GLPs and loses muscle. Now they're never going to lose muscle. So they're not going to have Wegovy face. They're not going to have Wegovy neck, Wegovy butt, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So they're going to preserve their muscle mass while they're taking the GLP. So it's going to be like, it's going to be like a miracle, because all these people lose muscle. So both of these products are $1 billion products. There's no doubt about it. I don't know how long it'll be before pharma comes after us because they're like, oh, no, you don't. Because we're going to be selling them for affordable rates. Like we're literally going to be able to sell an entire annual amount for both products for literally like $7,900. No lie. Lilly, when they sell each product individually, will charge somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 a month. $7,000 and $8,000 a month. Yep. And we're going to sell it for literally like less than that for an entire year supply. So obviously, people still have to have some, discretionary income, but these two products are going to be game changers for life extension. I mean, absolute game changers.
I mean, you see it with Ozempic, Mounjaro. They're going crazy over these pens like 7 years later, 6 years later, and they're still charging $1,100 a month. Are you joking me?
Dude, 1,100 with a script and a good RX coupon, right? So you can get them, as you know, from BioLongevity Labs, Peptide Sciences. We should talk about this for a second. Research chemical companies for anywhere from 7 to 10th the cost. The differentiation, so people understand this, is if you get it from a compound pharmacy, it's already reconstituted, it's already made, it's kind of dummy proof. They tell you where to pull on the syringe, right? Whereas when you buy them from us or you buy them from, other research companies, you obviously have to be invested and bought in because you got to learn how to reconstitute. You got to learn how to measure micrograms, milligrams. You have to understand a syringe. You need to understand like how to reconstitute. There's a lot of little things that go along with it. So obviously that's the difference in cost. But as you know, once you understand those things, it's like a game changer because now you're not relying on your doctor. You're not relying on the medical establishment. You're not relying on a compound pharmacy, which is ripping you off. I mean, dude, every day I get people message me. They're like, I could buy this on BioLongevity Labs for $150, or I can spend $1,200 and my doctor can send it to me. How is this fair? And I'm like, it's not fair. You're basically paying, you're paying the VIG. You're paying the governmental and private, big pharma / whatever you want to call it, big agra.
Yeah, absolutely.
The dark side's VIG. That's what it is.
Man, dude. Are you guys paying attention to this? Jay is dropping some heat here. Like, you don't need to go to compound pharmacy. No. You don't need to go to the doctor to get your peptides or therapeutic testosterone. Simply just go to BioLongevity Labs. And we do have a promo code. Selfishly, I would say utilize CortezWM.com. I believe it's 10% off.
Yeah, no, it's 15. If you got 15% off.
Okay, 15% off. So there you go, guys. And I'll tell you another vial, not a vial, but a peptide is BioMine that I've been using. And I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about like the cognitive problems that our kids are having with autism and as well as ADHD. Now, I'm not saying they should take BioMine. This is for me. I have ADHD. I'm extremely busy, extremely forgetful sometimes. And this has helped me a ton. I have no idea the science behind it, but if you want to talk about BioMine.
Well, that is the #1 nootropic product in the world. There is nothing that holds a candle to this. There are so many A-list celebrities, superstar people, rock star entrepreneurs, rock star CEOs, Fortune 500 beasts that use this product. The only thing I will say about it is it's 3 different products. It's J147, which is a stage 2 Alzheimer drug. When this drug actually comes to the marketplace, it's going to be a revelation. But obviously, because we move so fast, we already have it in this product. And then Dihexa is the strongest nootropic peptide by far. It's the only one that I actually swear by. And then Noopept, if you're familiar with all the racetams, is the strongest racetam nootropic. It's not really a peptide, it's a small molecule, but all 3 of these together is nothing like it. It does not raise heart rate. It does not stimulate cardiac cell growth or anything like that. It literally just makes the lights brighter and your focus stronger. But don't use it every day. You already said it. I tell people to pick the most cognitively demanding days they have and take 2 capsules before an hour, at least an hour before. And it should last, at least, as you know, it lasts 4 to 6 hours. If you have a crazy day where you're taking tests all day, I would say you could take a second dose, which would be another 2 capsules, but do not take it under 6 hours. So if you're going to be, brain power all day, first 2 dose between 6 and 8, second dose after 2.
Okay. Now, how young?
But don't take it every day, for sure. Don't take it every day.
How young could you be to take this? Could
college age students can take it. I mean, a really, really smart high school student, maybe as a senior, in super advanced classes might take it. But I like to tell people that the brain is not fully neurologically developed until about 21 or 22. So I would tell you to just wait until your 20s before you start using this product. But I don't think it would be that bad if an 18 or 19-year-old, very, cognitively advanced person took it. But I wouldn't get in the mood of taking it. You definitely do not want to abuse this product because it's very powerful and it will cause what is called receptor attenuation, which is like basically a desensitization to some of the products. So you'd have to cycle off of it. So that's why you only use it every now and then.
Yeah. Yep. No, man, I love all this. And I just got the cream. I haven't used it for my shoulder yet, but I'm
Dude,
excited.
the cream is amazing. That is a patented product from Russia that we've actually strengthened. If more people knew about that product, it would probably be one of the biggest sellers in the world. I think we're going to put that product to test next year because we're doing a gigantic cold traffic growth funnel to it. But I mean, you think of all these old people that use like BioFreeze and, Icy Hot and all these fucking shit products that, only cost like 20 or 30 bucks. I mean, that product obviously costs 150 bucks because there's a lot of fucking kitchen sink peptides and bioregulators in it. But bro, nothing works like that. If I tweak my knee or my ankle, because I have a really destable ankle from playing basketball in college, all I do is rub a little bit of that on, and the next day it's like it's healed. It's magic.
Amazing.
I mean, it's not going to completely heal a torn ligament, but
Right.
if you use it, over the course of a couple of weeks, you'll regenerate a lot faster. It's really powerful.
Holy
stuff.
cow. No, I'm intrigued by all this, and especially that was it Cortez and oh man, what was it?
We have so many products. I lose track sometimes. BioMind. The other one that I'll point out to, which is on that picture right there, is brand new. It's called BioIgnite. And it's right behind Shred Max from a fat burner standpoint. The difference is that product is for stubborn fat. So if you've got like a belly that you can't get rid of, or you're a woman and you've got like, cottage dimples in your thighs or your glute ham tie-in, that's like an amazing product to get rid of that fat because it really does only attack stubborn fat cells.
BioIgnite?
Yep. Yeah, it's got a product in it called Amylexinox, and it's a super, what is called a type 2 stubborn adipocyte receptor targeter. And so it goes after where you have very poor blood flow in your body, and it stimulates blood flow, and also what are called catecholamines, which are obviously fight or flight hormones. So it mobilizes stubborn fat to go off your body. It's an amazing product.
Do you recommend taking BioIgnite with Shred Max, or?
You definitely can. The way I would do it is I would take Shred Max on my lifting days, and I would take BioIgnite on my cardio days. And I would take BioIgnite. Shred Max, it doesn't matter, but BioIgnite, you definitely want to take fasted. So it crosses the blood-brain barrier fast.
Yeah. Wow. I hope you guys are taking notes on this. It's a lot of heat he's dropping real quick.
Yeah, I mean, most people are not going to keep up with this, but obviously it's awesome that it's being recorded. But yeah, I mean, like I said, man, we are the fastest growing, fastest iterating company in the world with our products. Like we have, the gorilla chemist, Brian Moskowitz. He's like one of the world's leading biochemical engineers that works for us. And so we're formulating and iterating faster than anybody else. So, if you want the latest and greatest and the tip of the spear products about what's happening in the biochemical space, we have them.
So quick question. I've noticed that people that have been taking peptides, that 0.5% or 1/4% of the 1% that know about peptides, they're losing hair. And let's talk about the women. A lot of women listen to my show. They're losing hair. And what do you recommend? Obviously, if their nutrition is dialed in, their protein is dialed in, most probably not, they're losing hair.
Dude, 90% of women that are losing hair on peptides is because it's malnutrition. They're not getting enough protein.
Okay.
It's very, very well known that people that use terzapatide, which is obviously Zepbound or Mounjaro, and lose hair, it's because they're not eating enough protein. The number one, it's called effugium, televium effugium, which is basically when the hair is shedding rapidly. And in women, when it happens, it's literally due to nutrition.
Wow.
And most women who take those products, because obviously it's very powerful as an appetite suppressant, they stop eating protein, they stop eating enough. Yeah. And that's a sure tell sign that they're not getting enough protein. So it's really simple. And people like that, they got to start supplementing with protein. My favorite protein powder, is, I'm definitely a shill, is Mark Bell, who has Steak Shake. So all of his protein is like it's the most expensive protein in the world. It's not even, some of it's grass fed, but it's mostly meat protein, and it's beef tallow and MCT oil and like carbon 60 and like all the best ingredients in the world into one mixture. And so if you want to go to his company, it's called Within You withinyoubrand.com and buy that protein. That's all my wife and I take. In fact, dude, when I travel around the world, I literally carry that stuff with me because it's the strongest protein, protects bones and calcium, and it just tastes amazing. He has so many flavors. The best flavors, I think, are banana cream, frosted oatmeal cookie, and then he's got, obviously, of course, vanilla and chocolate. But I mean, dude, I'm on subscribe and save on that. Like every 45 days, I get like 6 of those things sent to me.
That's awesome, man.
And I honestly, my wife and I both take 2 shakes of that a day. Wherever I am, that's how I get, an extra like 80 to 100 grams of protein every day.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. If women are losing hair on peptides, it's due to poor nutrition. And obviously it's, I don't want to say poor nutrition, but it's the appetite suppression from the GLPs is causing them to not eat enough protein. And that's what's dropping their hair out. Now, obviously some women do have hormonal hair loss, and that would be due to an imbalance of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. And again, that's where we're, they got to get their labs done. They got to understand if they need some testosterone, but sometimes testosterone can exacerbate hair loss, but it's short term. Once you get balanced and optimized, it'll stop happening. But I mean, again, dude, as we get older, living in a contaminated environment, you're probably going to lose a little bit of hair. It's just kind of inevitable. There's really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, everyone is saying, "Oh, you need to take NAD plus," and
no, that's not going to do jack shit, dude. No, I mean, losing hair as you get older is one of 2 things. I mean, I've written articles on this, so people understand this because this is important, and most people don't know this, but hair loss is due to blood flow restriction to the scalp. So very truthfully, if you're one of those guys who buys a traction device and hangs upside down like a fucking bat for a half an hour a day, that will actually improve hair regrowth in your scalp. Now, obviously, you would also want to use a red light skull cap because red light does stimulate angiogenesis. And then we don't have it now, but, obviously I used to sell a product. That's how, me and Josiah met each other. I sold to the company a long time ago for a good amount of money. But if you have an angiogenic peptide mixture, like a GHKCU, like a carbon 60, like a AK122, PB482, all these different peptides for hair, you can totally regrow your hair. On top of that, you would definitely want to also consider using PRP. You'd want to consider using exosomes. I mean, these are procedures that are A, expensive, and B, painful as fuck, but they will absolutely 100% regrow your hair. I know people who are bald who now have dreadlocks, but you got to spend money and you got to work with the right people. But hair loss is a thing of the past. You just have to know what to do, and you got to have obviously enough means and resources to overcome it.
Man, this has been a lot of information. Wow. Okay. So Jay, where can we find BioLongevity Labs, and how do we order, and what's that look like, and how long do these peptides, once they're reconstituted, last? Once they put it in a refrigerator?
So it's a good question. So to find my shit, which is free for everywhere, it's jaycampbell.com. If you go to jaycampbell.com/free-info, you can download a copy of every one of my books. There's 8 books there. As I told you, my newest book is coming at the end of this year. It's going to definitely be my magnum opus. It is called Metabolic Awakening with GLP Peptides. It will teach people how to use GLP peptides to not fuck themselves up and obviously live longer, stronger. You can go to biolongevitylabs.com and you can use obviously your code, which is Cortez WM, which will give you 15% off. All those amazing products that I talked about, like Clotho and Follistatin, are coming the week of Black Friday. I think they're going to be probably Tuesday before Black Friday, which I think, I'm not looking at a calendar, but I think it's November 25th. If you're going to use those products, you definitely want to go on those products if you're over the age of 40 for as long as you can, because they're revolutionary and they're going to optimize and upregulate your life. And again, I think the sale that week that we're having will probably be 30% off store-wide plus your code. So basically people will be able to get nearly 50% off every product in the store. And again, like, to me, obviously I'm not about making money. I mean, I want people to succeed and be in life, but for me, it's about serving. And the more people we can get on Clotho, the more people we can get on Follistatin, the better they're going to live from a health standpoint. And the more they'll be able to detach from the sick care, reptilian, whatever it is, principles and principality system that we're unfortunately too many are attached to.
Wow. That's amazing. So you heard it, guys. Biolongevity Labs, and go ahead and put in the promo code Cortez WM. You'll save 15%. And if you wait on Black Friday, you'll have a total of 30% off the whole store. And hopefully you can get your hands on the clothode and fellostatin as well. Now, Jay, real quick, you had mentioned another peptide when I asked you about top 5 peptides. You said a bonus one. I can't remember which one it was, but you said it for me. I should take it. Was it the Metashred, the SOUPP? Was it?
Yeah, so not Metashred, but Shred Max for
Shred
sure.
Max. Okay,
Shred
I was just making sure that was there.
Yeah, so I mean, like right now, for you knowing what I know about you now, it would just be still tesamorelin, retatrutide. If you need the appetite suppression from cagrilintide, you can get that. Now, we do have something I didn't mention that might be better. In fact, I know it's better than cagrilintide. It's an oral, and it's called Biozapatite.
Okay.
And that's actually a Lilly product called orforglipron. Good luck trying to spell that. But that's what it's called. It's called orforglipron. So that's coming out and will be FDA approved sometime in the next 4 to 6 months. But we already sell it as Biozapatite. And it's just an oral capsule. And dude, it's a very powerful appetite suppressant. So you can take 2 of those a day in the morning, and it will definitely, it's not going to shut it down. You'll still be able to eat, but it'll definitely control your appetite. So that would be one I would look at to use because it's really, really strong. I use it sometimes myself and when I'm fasting because it really takes my mind off of food. But then the rest of them, you already know. I mean, if you want to throw in clotho and follistatin, I mean, every guy wants to be more muscular, right? So, I mean, like follistatin will definitely help with that. You really don't have to do anything provided you're already doing all the things like lifting and eating enough protein, etc.
Yeah. No, this has been awesome, and I really, really appreciate the time, and obviously our listeners would appreciate or are going to appreciate all this info you just dropped. And once again, go to Biolongevity Labs. The link will be below. Cortez WM will be your coupon code. And Jay, I'm gonna go ahead and close. I'll let you close, man. Any last words you want to say?
No, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the awesome energy and enthusiasm and questions you asked me. And, you know, I think it's really, really important for people, especially in your audience, my audience these days, that you got to become sovereign, empowered, and free. You got to unhook, detach, be completely on your own, you know, not have external saviors, you know, be ready, have a backup plan, be ready whenever the shit hits the fan, so to speak. And obviously by using peptides, by being hormonally optimized, by doing all these things that we talked about today, you're going to be one leg up ahead of everybody else.
Awesome. Well, I love it, Jay. Thanks for your time, man. And I'm sure we'll be talking again.
For sure, my brother. I really appreciate you.
All right, big guy. Have a good one.
Too.